A Nigerian woman and a family who moved to the United Kingdom in 2023 has used her hand to destroy everything that she has worked for. This woman will now be spending a long time in jail. Her visa has been cancelled. This woman's situation has been described as naivety, ignorant. Let me know what your views are as we dive into the story of this woman who moved to the United Kingdom with her children and her husband on a carer's visa. The woman settled in Yorkshire around the Leeds area of England. Good afternoon. The Launch Club is where you will hear the latest updates about immigrant daily lived experiences in the UK and other part of the world. We share stories to inform and educate our audience. This woman's story, hopefully, people will learn a lesson from the story of this woman who we are calling Susan today. This woman, she was working in the UK after she arrived. Everything was going well for Susan and her family. Susan went to the doctors and she told the doctors that I am pregnant. The doctors then say, "Oh, you're pregnant." Say, "Yes. Come, let us do examination to check." They did the first scan. They didn't see any baby in there. They therefore asked Susan and said, "Look, we do not think that what you said is a baby. It doesn't appear to be a baby. We think that you may have tumor." Sandra said, "They say, we think that you have tumor which needs to be treated as soon as possible." Instead of Susan to follow the doctor's advice and seek treatment as was recommended by the medical team, she said to them, "No, I am going to Nigeria because I want to go and spend some time with my family in Nigeria." Susan then packed her bag and she flew to Nigeria. When she arrived in Nigeria, she then called her GP, her doctors in England, and said to them, "I have now noticed that I'm going to have my baby in Nigeria. I'm not coming back to England for the time being." The doctor said, "Okay, that's fine." Few months later, Susan told them she has had a baby in Nigeria and she's coming back to the UK. Susan boarded, got on the plane, flew back to the UK with a baby. When she arrived in the UK with the baby, she raised suspicions because the medical team in the UK, they've already alerted the police about Susan's case. Susan was arrested at the airport in Gatwick. When she was arrested, the baby that she had, the baby was removed from her care. The baby in this case is baby Eleanor. The baby was removed in her care and placed in foster care. Police were doing investigation and they did DNA test. I don't know who was advising this woman, but the report that we have is that people advised her against what she and her husband were doing, but Susan, our sister, she did not listen to them. She said, "No, what do you guys know? I know what I'm doing. Let me take my decision myself." When they did the DNA test, the DNA test showed that Susan is not the father, is not the mother of this baby. Susan then told the medical team that, "Look, before they did the DNA test, she told them, say, look, make sure you bring that baby because by the time you do your own test that you're doing, you will realize that this baby is my baby." Forgetting that DNA test will be done. After the first DNA test showed that Susan is not the mother of this baby, Susan then said, "No, I do not believe in this DNA test. I want you guys to do another DNA test." Another DNA test was done. It showed that Susan is still not the mother at all. Susan then came up and changed her story. They say trouble, they sleep, Yanga go wake up. Susan then said, oh, sorry, I just remember now that the baby is not, the baby I told you is mine. It's mine, but I had the baby through IVI. The person, one of the person that donated the sperm, the egg, I think that is why the DNA test is wrong. The reason is because somebody donated his baby, the sperm donor, it's not. They say, okay, we have done a DNA test. This DNA test showed that you have no genetic trace to this baby. So tell us the truth. What Susan did not know, maybe she thought this was Nigeria. What Susan did not know that the court ordered that Susan's mobile phone should be forensically examined to check who she has been speaking with, to make sure that the police gathered more evidence. Her phone was seized and examined. They then realized that Susan deleted all the messages, thinking that now that she has deleted the messages, there is no way the police will be able to find conversation that she's had before, forgetting that this is not Nigeria. As long as that phone is still working, all the messages that you sent on that phone that you've deleted, the police can easily retrieve those messages. Susan, there were evidence now show that Susan was speaking to somebody in Nigeria. When the baby was born, she was talking to somebody in Nigeria. She told the person that, oh, don't worry, I'll give you the 250,000. Give you the 250,000 for the medical bills. Once you have the medical bills, everything, the humanity will sort it out. Meanwhile, why Susan told them that it was a sperm donor that donated the sperm, that is why the DNA showed that she's not a mom. She then produced a picture. In that picture, a newborn baby was seen. The baby's umbilical cord has not been cut, but she then covered the person's face. They then asked her, this picture that you brought now, you say this picture is the picture of you when you were having this baby. Say yes. And your face was covered. They say yes. Why was your face covered when you're having baby? Susan did not know anything to say. The next thing Susan then did, she brought a letter signed by a medical director of a hospital in Lagos and said, this is the medical director that signed this record and showed that this baby is mine. The court then ordered an investigator to go to that hospital in Nigeria. The person went to the hospital in Nigeria. She found the hospital was a quack hospital in Nigeria. They then went in, they spoke to the matron, produced the birth certificate. The matron said, yes, somebody had this baby in here. But however, it's not the woman that claimed that she had the baby. She's not the one that had the baby. Somebody else had this baby here. They then find out that Susan is impersonating the person. So the person that had the baby could not care for the baby. Susan then purchased this baby from the person and the person disappeared. So the person then reported to the UK authority that, look, 100% this baby is not Susan. The baby, Susan and her husband, they have purchased this baby in Nigeria and they brought this baby to the UK, and all they were doing, these things was planned, it was pre-planned. The most bizarre part of this story is that even a 7-year-old child can tell that this is not going to work. This is why it is important that anything you're doing in life, you sought advice from people that know more than you. There are reports that Susan was warned, and Timmy, this thing you're doing is not going to work. Don't do it. She and her husband, they ignore the report. When the court then found Susan guilty only yesterday of human trafficking. Meanwhile, Susan, being a care worker, her boss have already been informed about everything that is going on. This is a woman and her husband that have been working throughout their life, their dream, is to come to the United Kingdom. Now, everything that they have worked for, they have used their hand to destroy it. The court has found Susan guilty of human trafficking, and Susan's visa is going to be revoked because you cannot have criminal record and be working in the UK. And the visa is going to, once the visa is revoked, once she finishes her prison sentence, she will be sent back to Nigeria. The saddest part of this story is this baby now. The baby, the court has then ordered that baby Eleanor be placed up for adoption as soon as possible, that the baby must be adopted. This baby will never know who her real parents are. She will never know what her real culture, identity. She will never know it. The baby has gone. And all this situation could have been avoided. There are lots of people among our community, when they are doing something, they are hiding it. Somebody wants to renew a visa that the other day, he was hiding it, believing that if she tells somebody, they will use bad luck to wishing them. Because of that, they did not tell anybody. It was when they were refused visa, that was when they cried, Ebomio, money need help, money need help. I said, when you were applying for this visa, did you tell anybody? Say no. Why? He said because the husband told her that if she tells anyone, that those people will use bad luck and they won't get what they are doing. Because of that, they didn't tell anybody. This family, whether they thought that they will not do any DNA when the baby arrived from Nigeria, whether they thought that they can just do all this thing without this story. When I first came across this story, if I did not see this story on the BBC, I will not have believed that anybody in 2025 will make a silly mistake like this. Because how did you expect that you'll be able to get away with this story? You bring a baby into the UK and the authority have already had their suspicion. As soon as you went to the GP, you told the GP you're pregnant, and they did scan revealed that there's no baby in your womb, and you lied to them that, your pregnancy is invisible. Whenever you're pregnant, it doesn't show that in the past, all your babies that you've had, that is how they work. This is completely situation that is avoidable. Now, as always, guess what? They are blaming the devil. They are blaming the people, evil forest of their father's house. That people have charmed them. That is why they make this kind of mistake. This mistake is, do you agree that this is the work of devil, or do you think that this is the work of people who are unenlightened, who refuse to heed advice, and therefore they have used their hands to destroy everything that they have now worked for? They've destroyed it. Do you have any sympathy for this woman? Do you have any sympathy for the man? This is why when you are in a relationship, you have a wife, or you have a husband, that if you cannot advise each other because you think that if you advise each other, you're going to shut each other down, this is what situation like this leads to. The hardest part of this story is this baby who will never know her real parents. She's now lost. She has been granted British citizenship, but the son, Susan, and husband and her children, they will all be deported at the end of the day. Let me know what your views are in the comment section, whether you think this is the hand of the devil, black magic, they've been witch, voodoo has been used for them, or you think that these are people that deserve to go to prison because they were ignorant and naive. Don't forget to share this video with anyone